Yes.
What do you feel about fluoride?
Well, you know, from the things that I've read and the things that I've studied, I think people should decide what they put into their drinking water themselves. So I don't know if it would come up to a commission vote, but I think the more stuff's in your drinking water, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. So if there are tablets available or some other ways to get fluoride and you want fluoride in your water, then that should be the avenue you take. But of course, that's as far as fluoride, I don't think that the commission has much to do with whether or not fluoride's in the water. That's just my personal opinion. Yes.
I was out of town last week, so I missed the discussion and the brouhaha over the taxes, the property taxes.
Property tax, yeah.
But I'm going to give you a little history of what happened to me. I got my tax assessment, it increased 8%, and so I called the guy and I said, there's no reason my taxes should go up when my property value has actually decreased in the past couple of years. Every real estate agent I've talked to says, yeah, you've gone down 5 or 10%, so how can you justify raising? He says, but we're going to reduce the tax rate. So the tax rate goes down, and the evaluation comes up, and my taxes will roughly stay the same. I mentioned that to my wife, and she says, women having sometimes an intuition that I don't have, said they're playing a shell game. As it turns out, that's what they tried to do. They said, oh, it's, okay, now that we get the increase, that's fixed. I mean, the guy said, I couldn't do anything about that. And now that they tried to jump the tax rate back up. So that's how they got a tax increase.
Yeah, in effect.
And now it's rolled back. But the root problem still remains, my property isn't worth 8% more than it was 2 years ago. It's worth less.
Well, be sure you stick around for Jim if he gets up and speaks, because you know, he'll tell you, and I've seen this presentation before, is that as far as the property values go in the county, the 28% of the real estate transactions in Blount County have been foreclosures. And those were not factored into the property values here in Blount County. So it's almost the property values were inflated a little bit because they weren't really figuring in all the whole equation, all the variables. So that's kind of one way they got around to saying that your property is worth more by not counting the people who actually couldn't pay their homes off.
Is the commission in charge of that?
The commission, I believe the commission will vote on it, and there's the budget committee that decides that, and there's the property assessor's office who actually does the appraisals and then sort of submits that.
And he made an across-the-board 8% increase. Does the commission have a?
No,
Well, I don't know
that's
if
not
it's
true.
across the board.
So it's went from 6 to like 10 or 12.
Yeah, it'll vary where you live, and there are other conditions they factor in. And you know,
But how can they generalize and say it increases? Because generally, they've all decreased.
yeah, well,
I don't know of one that's increased.
a couple of months ago, the property assessor actually spoke at the commission meeting, and some of the factors they take into account are values from neighboring counties. You know, so there are a lot of things they look at, but I didn't really see an X plus Y equals this times whatever. I don't know if there's really a formula they use to figure out the property values. I wouldn't think that it's a subjective number that they're just coming up and saying, well, we're going to charge this guy 8%, then we're going to charge this guy 6%, just based on a whim. So I'm sure there are numbers that they use to calculate your property value. I don't think that, you know, if they're excluding foreclosures, then they're obviously not doing their job fully. You know, they need to be fair to everybody. And if your property value decreases because of the housing market, then it should decrease. You shouldn't pay more taxes just because the government wants to generate a little more revenue.
My personal opinion is that they see that the county needs more money and they figure this is a way of doing it.
That's what I say too.
And that's not right.
No, it's not right. If that's the case, it's not at all. And you know, for certain things to be discounted when they were doing the calculations, I don't think that's right at all.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, it's unfortunate that they raised everybody's appraisals and then also tried to pass a property tax increase. You know, it wasn't enough for them. They had to have a tax increase too. And that to me it's a signal of out of control spending. You know, there's not really, and they don't really show any motivation to do something about it. So, yes.
Are you for or against a forensic audit? And also, had you been a commissioner at, I believe it was the March commission meeting when they voted in the PFM to come in and look at our books or cook our books or whatever they did, would you voted for that as all the rest of the commissioners did, or would you have voted that down?
Well, as far as the audit goes, we have to do it at home. Everybody has to take a look at their budget, so I've had no problem auditing the county budget. I know it might cost a little cash, but it might save us some long term. We can invest a little bit going through our budget, and it might save us millions, down the line. So I would definitely be for an audit of the county finances. Now, regarding the PFM, which is the financial firm that was brought in to, supposedly help the county figure out their debt problem, if they were the most qualified, maybe, but I don't think the commissioners really had much time, or they didn't put much time into looking to see who would be, a good candidate. So, and again,
I was at that meeting, and Mr. Foltz was there, and he brought up the fact that there has been lawsuits against that company.
exactly.
And I think Mr. Ballard was the only one who asked any questions at all about that, if I remember right. I don't think any of their commissioners asked any other questions.
No, I don't think they did.
And
You're absolutely right.
everybody just kind of voted hands down. That's why I was kind of wanted to have your input on
Right.
that.
Like I said, if I had had the choices in front of me, I would have picked the best one that I thought would have been best. Of course, I would have wanted to take the time to evaluate all the candidates instead of just voting for them that night. Now, that said, we do have a finance director that gets paid, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, $80,000 a year to do that for us. So, it does seem a little redundant that we're paying some financial firm to do the same thing that this guy sitting over here in the commission is supposed to do. So, that's something that we need to take into account as well, is who's not doing their job, who's not paying attention to the finances. So that would be kind of the approach that I would take to it as well.
Who's paying attention really well,
Exactly, yeah.
but for their own interests.
Seems to be.
There's somebody benefiting from this setup.
Mm-hmm.
There's purpose, all behavior is purposeful,
Yeah, well, I mean,
unless they're completely incompetent, in which case we need to call Lakeshore.
well,
I'm serious.
but
I know, yeah.
you're absolutely
Somebody
right.
benefiting from this setup.
Yes.
I mean, with $200 million in debt, I drive around and I don't see $200 million worth of improvements in the county. We've got roads that have potholes, and we have roads that are, and that's something else about the Pellissippi Parkway extension. I mean, they want to spend more money to build a new road. Let's fix the ones we've got first. Let's figure out, let's clean our own house. Yeah.
Along those lines, as you said, the Blount County Highway Department can't afford to maintain the roads we have, yet the Knoxville TPO can't spend money fast enough. So, with that said, do you think that all the state and federal road decisions in Blount County should be made in a four-county Knoxville-based organization?
Honestly, I don't know. I think Blount County knows best what's for, Blount Countyans know what's best for Blount County. And I'm afraid that if you move that too far away, then it kind of reduces our influence on the decisions. So that's something I probably have to study more. I don't know much about the TPO. So that's just my gut feeling, is that when you move the further away you move the decisions, the less influence and power that the citizens have over what's being decided. So, anybody else? All right. Well, feel free to, I've got a website, declareindependence2010.com. Some of my issues are there. I've got a few videos there of me talking, if you just love to hear me talk. But you can find a little bit more about me, and kind of there's a few other issues on there as well. So I thank you for your time, and thank you for your questions, and vote Polk.